discussion this morning. The rising popularity of genetically modified Nigeria is sparking debates over the safety of long-term impact, while advocates highlight their potential to boost crop yields and reduce losses from pest. Critics warn that health risk and environmental concerns cannot be ignored. Advocates for good safety, food safety are urging government and agencies to strengthen regulations, enforce transparency, labeling, and promote more public awareness to help Nigerians make informed food choices. Joining us for this conversation is the Executive Director, Center for African Policy Research and Advisory. He is also the Deputy Director, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research in Nigeria, Dr. Segun Adebayo. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the program.
When we talk about GMOs, what is GMO and what is the implication of this food in the system of Nigeria and to human beings?
Yeah, first, GMOs are organisms, plants or animals, that have been modified at genome level. In other words, their genetic constituents have been added to or removed. And in the case of what we have here in Nigeria, you have genes taken from a soil bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis, and you have genes taken from inside. The genes were taken from it and put inside your maize. The genes were taken from that soil bacteria and put in your beans and also your cotton. And the reason why that gene is of interest to science is that that gene is insecticidal in nature. In other words, it repels pests. Any organism pests that eats that particular bacteria, it affects them. It's targeted to some pests. So scientists decided to make our food also pest resistant, insecticidal in nature. So they took that gene from that bacteria that has that particular attribute and put it in our food so that our food can also have the same attribute that the bacteria has. Okay. And that's so it's crossing the species barrier. It's like taking the genes from a donkey and putting it in a goat, or taking the genes from a dog and putting it in a fish. So you're crossing the species barrier, and that is actually what we have. It's what you call transgenic GMO crops. Now the issue is that we do not have enough, there is no known risk assessment in the world, long-term risk assessment, to ascertain that GMO foods are healthy for human consumption. There is none anywhere in the world. And you know, listening to the Director General of NAFDAC just 2 days ago or so, or 3 days ago, come out to say that GMOs are not bad, that we can eat them, and she put it close.
She made mention of proper labeling.
Yeah, she said proper labeling, and also she said if there is sufficient research. Now, exactly a year ago, about a year ago, same DG of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, was on air to say explicitly that NAFDAC's position is that GMOs are pesticides, and until there is sufficient research to prove that they are good for consumption, that NAFDAC's position is that GMOs are not safe for human consumption. So, she said that last year.
So in your opinion, which is it safe or isn't it safe? Because Nigerians on social media don't believe so.
Okay, so my opinion is very simple. First, it is not safe for human consumption because there is no known study to say that it is safe. If our DG at NAFDAC has any reputable research that she has conducted or consulted to ascertain the safety of GMOs within a year, because last year she said it wasn't safe. This year she comes to say it is okay. It's okay. So whatever research she conducted or consulted, she should make it known to the science community for us to review and know. Because
are you also speaking based on facts?
Oh yes.
You've carried out some research.
Also, the thing is this: there are many. Before you begin to carry out your own independent research to say it is safe or not safe, first of all, look at the imperatives in other countries. countries like Russia. GMOs are actually, if you cultivate GMOs in Russia, you're a terrorist because they have the potentials of being a bioweapon. In fact, the US-China Economic Review Commission 3 years ago did a report in the United States highlighting the fact that China acquired IP properties, including GMO crops from US, and are able to hack the DNA, in other words, modify it at genome level to make the crops in US susceptible to fungal diseases. So you can have an attack, a fungal attack on the crops in US, and that's bioweaponry. And when you look at that report and you look at what Nigeria is complaining about in our ginger farms, you might see similarities there. What happened? How come our ginger suddenly became susceptible to fungal attack? So when you stepping back to GMOs, you look at other countries. The home country where these GMOs are actually, the major organization that's behind the GMOs we have in Nigeria is Monsanto, which was bought by Bayer. Bayer is home to Germany. And in Germany, it's banned. GMOs are banned, and even the GMO's evil twin called glyphosate, because it's an agrochemical that has to go with the GMOs. They go together. The agrochemical is also banned in their own country. So what is banned in your country? What is banned in Austria? Austria also banned it. Many countries, you have over 38 countries in the world that explicitly banned GMOs. Even in Africa here, you have Tanzania. Tanzania banned GMOs, yet they are over 128% food sufficient.
What are the possible side effects of eating GMO modified food?
First of all, there is, according to the science community, there are several. First of all, the first is Professor Seralini's research.
No, you just have to break it down for that layman that is watching us at the moment, be able to understand what you say.
Okay, so first you have Professor Seralini's research, which was conducted. He fed GMO to mice, and after feeding the mice for a period of time, they developed cancerous tumors. Now the science community came up and said, oh, this research is skewed, it's not accurate and all, and it was unpublished. But after 2 years, it was not contested again because the people who said these things, they were asked to produce their own research. They couldn't. And the research was republished. So that research stands still today. Professor Seralini's research stands. Secondly, if you go on the internet, and anyone who's currently watching can go on the internet and just search for GMO corn natural contraceptive. There are research dating back to year 2000. You can say that the researches are suppressed. You can say the researches were discontinued. But the mere fact that there is a possibility, that there are studies carried out to show that GMO maize especially made the eggs of women become spermicides. So you're looking at infertility. Also, Professor Huber, I think it's Purdue University, came up with a research to show that GMOs and glyphosate leads to spontaneous abortion. Of course, that study was also
some of the dangers.
No, these are dangers. GMOs. Yes, these are dangers that you see around GMOs. Of course, there are reports of GMOs causing allergies. There are reports of hormonal disorders. These are all reported disadvantages of consuming GMOs. What we are now supposed to do as a nation is let us now investigate. Let us start carrying out our own research to be sure whether these things are true. Because some scientists have said these things exist. Some other scientists say it's not true, that they are actually safe. So what we are supposed to do before we adopt is carry out our own indigenous long-term research. When we spoke to the NBMA, the National Biosafety Management Agency, to give us their risk assessment, they pointed us to the European Food Safety Authority risk assessment to say that that was the model that they used. And the model of the EFSA risk assessment is 90 days, if at all, 2 years. And I don't know any human being that lasts for 90 days or 2 years, except maybe something is wrong. So if you're going to give human beings something to eat, you should have long-term risk assessment to be sure that even at second generation, these things do not affect them, because there's gene transfer. It can lead to gene mutation. GMOs lead to gene mutation. It's out there. It's not a speculation. So if these things exist, we now, as a nation, concerned about the security of our people, concerned about the health of our people, should conduct our own indigenous research before we adopt these things.
And that was why I asked earlier that have you personally made some research on this before you come out here to say GMO foods are not safe for human consumption?
Oh, we've done our analysis. You don't need to repeat some research. Like I said, look at Mexico, for instance. The president of Mexico comes out to say that we are banning GMO and banning glyphosate because it affects to protect our citizens, first of all, to protect the health, for the health and safety of our citizens, for the gastrointestinal safety of our people, and also to preserve their local seed varieties from gene contamination, which is another effect of GMOs. Now, if the president of Mexico has come out to say it based on the science community, we look at Malawi.
Brazil is second largest in GMO production, aside from the United States of America. So, how do we now juxtapose those two together?
Okay, let's even go to Brazil, like you said. Okay. The patent owners of the seeds, Monsanto. If you search on the internet, anyone listening can check this out. The patent owners sued the farmers, some organic farmers, for being in possession of their seeds that they didn't buy from them, because that's another challenge with GMOs, their intellectual property. And the farmers paid over $7 billion. Many of them lost their farms. Many of them went out of business because of it. The seeds are patented technology. They belong to foreign biotech companies that are not indigenous to us, and that can lead to food sovereignty loss when we begin depending on these organizations for our food security. Let's look at our cotton farmers, even here in Nigeria. You know, they deployed GMO cotton. GMO cotton was the first to be deployed in Nigeria. Last year, after they have used it for a while, they came out on, the report is out there in the dailies, if you check it on the internet. The Cotton Farmers Association came out to report that after deploying GMOs for about 6 years, number one, the land where they planted all their GMO cotton, the land can no longer accommodate any other seed, including the natural variant. They started buying the GMO seeds 15,000 naira per kilogram, and you need 4 kilograms for an acre. Right now, it's currently over 55,000 naira for a kilogram.
You've said a lot about GMO foods today, but let's come down to the level of Nigerians, the normal Nigerian on the street. How do we avoid GMO foods? How do you identify that, oh, this was grown with GMO and this wasn't?
So you cannot identify it.
Okay.
So that means that if the GMOs cannot be distinguished, how would the woman selling moi moi tell you that it's GMO beans she used to make the moi moi?
So what do we do?
And that was why NAFDAC is saying about proper labeling.
So that means you shouldn't have approved it in the first place if it was not properly labeled. If Nigeria's food systems don't accommodate for labeling of food on the street, if the consumers will not have a choice than to eat it, I mean, this is technocracy here. Some people have become overlords to tell us what we have to eat. We don't have a choice. How will the woman that sells cocoa on the street tell her consumers or distinguish that she used GMO maize for that particular pap?
So what should Nigerians do?
The Nigerians
until we know that GMO is safe for us as a country.
First, the regulators need to retract their approval for GMOs to first save Nigerians, because you can't avoid it. You can't say you're not going to eat it because it's in your beans. You don't know. You go to the eateries, they've used it to make beans, they've used it to make pap for you. They've used it's everywhere. So you can't avoid it. So it goes back, the onus now goes back to those who say that we would work towards proper labeling. If you are going to work towards proper labeling, why did you approve it in the first place when you know that we have stringent labeling laws for our consumables here in Nigeria?
Are we in danger at the moment?
Yes, we are in danger.
And what's the way out?
The way out is for it to be banned. Take it out. Take it out of the system. Mexico did it. Many countries are doing it. Even South Africa, just November last year here, They retracted their approval for Monet 7460. That's Monsanto.
We hope that policies will be put in place to ensure that Nigerians are well informed concerning these GMOs. But in all of this, for me, I believe the issue of diseases that we have in this country, is it the fact that people are being made to take GMOs, that's why they are falling down to these diseases that we have in the country? I don't want to start mentioning names.
Yeah, so
so that Nigerians will not be scared at this time.
Like now, young people, they are being diagnosed of high blood pressure, diabetes, and before it wasn't like this. It was people in their maybe 50s, 60s, but now people as young as 20, 22. I had a friend that had diabetes at 22. So do you think that this is also a risk factor for young people?
Let thy food be thy medicine. Your food is your first medicine. You are what you eat. You are what you consume.
Now that we're having GMO, so what do we now eat?
So that means the government needs to be taken out of our food systems. We need to begin our own independent research to know exactly what is causing these things. We cannot just wait, and that's one of the things. We can't wait to be told what to do all the time from the international community. I'll give an example. These things, now there's a relationship between theory, research, and policy. When I listened to the NBMA Director General, she said that Nigeria will, this is a theory, that by 2050, we would have doubled our population and we need GMOs for food security. That is a theory. Now, bring it down home. What research have you conducted to be sure that that postulation, that theory you imported from abroad, actually applies to us? We have vast arable uncultivated land that we can use to make ourselves food secure and food sufficient without the need for GMOs. We have the vast arable land. We have the manpower, youthful population. In fact, we are at 40% post-harvest losses. So if the imperative of our government agencies to approve GMOs is for us to be food secure, why don't you go after our post-harvest losses that is at 40%? The farmers are farming, the goods are there, but they are not getting to the market and they spoil on the field. We don't have storage. The roads to the farms are bad. The cost of transportations are bad. And the issues of insecurity is there. So why do we ignore these issues and then run to what we are getting from abroad that we have not even studied to know whether we need or not?
Do you also consider the aid they get from abroad?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Even the abroad themselves dismantled their organization because of the AIDS, and the abroad themselves told us that these AIDS are actually causing more harm than good.
There's this GMO ginger that is on the front burner at this time. Nigeria, are we still the third largest producer of ginger?
Ginger and corn.
Okay, so first,
just in 1 minute, we can just land on that point.
2017, we're the third largest. Not just the third largest. Nigeria's ginger was the best in the world, most preferred by everyone. Fast forward till now, we're importing ginger from almost everyone. And what you have is actually, they say it's not GMO, that it's disease resistant, but it's been adjusted at genome level anyways. So it might be a hybrid, but it is not what we used to have before. And the demand is gone. The demand, the people that we export our ginger to don't want that particular one. So, I mean, we have a
the cost of ginger in the market at the moment is
it's something else. Yes.
Something else.
500 for like very tiny.
We hope to bring you back anytime soon to talk more about these GMO foods in the country. Executive Director, Center for Africa Policy Research and Advisory, Dr. Segun Adebayo. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me
this morning.